You were talking about data dumping?
Yes.
The scroll at the beginning of the Star Wars films, is that what you're talking about?
That is the perfect way to visually get away with a data dump. Of, you've been here before, is a data dump. Of a lot of Eric von Lustbader was really good in his fantasy series of putting made up quotes from different cultures. Great way of data dumping what we're gonna cover in this particular part of the book. Of, when you get to your more steampunk type fiction, your Jules Verne kind of stuff, the data dumping is usually because something is not working and we're trying to fix it. A modern equivalent would be anything in which Iron Man has to fix something because somebody else blew it up. Well, we gotta get the transducers back online and we gotta get, so we're throwing out all these funny words and we're trying to get you in there. With the steam-based or your diesel punk, like your Indiana Jones stuff, you can have a lot of great data dumps trying to save the day. Of half of the original Star Wars was technobabble, sci-fi data dumping because the intergalactic transspanner wasn't talking to the computer and plug into this or plug into that or hand me the hydrospanner or hand all of it was just we were just kind of getting into the nuts and bolts. But because they were under attack or the ship was floating to the side, or you get data dump.
Okay.
But you can data dump in a fast and interesting way. Pirates of the Caribbean. How many of you sail yachts? Half of Pirates of the Caribbean is what? Either a sword fight or how to keep the boat from going down. Yard arms, we're starboard, we're this, we're that, blah, blah, blah.
Sails, anchors.
Cut this, do that, run to the mast, do the da-da-da. Half of the book is all of these nautical things going on. Do you care? No, because the zombie pirates are jumping on the other side of the, But there's a lot of data dumping. And I warn people about data dumping if you're gonna use real stuff, or even if you're making it up. Let's say you're data dumping magic, how magic works. There's a lot of that in the Harry Potter series. Boy, you better be consistent. If it's Leviosa, it better not be Levioso when it shows up, because you will get called on it. You will be
track.
You will be at some panel and somebody will be like, on page 198, paragraph 2, and you're like, really? You need a better life. You need some hobbies. Well, really, you're vampire, blah, 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 blah. Well, according to, vampires can't do that, so.
If you got two people that can talk by telepathy, you better make sure that all of a sudden one can't, unless you have a reason why they can't. There's gotta be some reason that's stopping them from being telepathic. Maybe they're sick, they got knocked out, but whatever. But if they've been using telepathy and all of a sudden they're in a closet, don't say they can't get out or be found. If they can use telepathy to talk to their friend and go, hey, come get me out of the closet, you better find a way to stop it or they're gonna catch you.
You will, readers will call you on your ear. So keep track.
Logic goes behind writing, and to a point. Writers are creatives, but to a point you have to have a touch of logic. You have to keep up with, is the sun up or is the sun down? Can my vampire be out? Oh, it's in the middle of the day in a broad field. How can the vampire be out there? You have to figure out how to solve those logical problems consistently. And if you trip yourself with the logic, your readers will catch you. So as you're going back through, write it. But as you're going back through those additional read-throughs and you start editing, look for those points of where your logic's going to break down. And that's where your beta readers will come in play.
Oh yeah, a good beta reader. Oh my gosh. Did you get the car? Did you get the car turned around? Is the sun coming up in the west? Yeah, stuff. As you get into the story, I mean, you're getting in. It was the old Tolstoy. If you're going to show them a gun in Act 1, shoot somebody in Act 2. As you make stuff up, where was that fire hydrant when they came in? Well, you need a fire hydrant in chapter 4. Well, they need to walk by that fire hydrant in chapter 1, which is why I tell everybody, you can't do all this in just one pass. And I will even do this when I'm writing. If I know I'm gonna have details, I will actually just highlight a spot and say, insert cool details here. Because I know later, when I get into the fight scene, I need an axe, a snake stick, and an aluminum ladder. Well, these things have all gotta be there some reason earlier in the story.
And yeah, why they happen to be there is, you know, you gotta kind of know, do they fit the room? Because if you're sitting outside the middle of the forest, there's not a ladder. Better know why it's there. You gotta have a reason that somebody brought the ladder to the forest. And I tend to write sometimes too that I'll write something and go, got no idea why I just wrote that sentence, you know? There's a ladder in the middle of the forest, got no idea. So I'll highlight it in yellow and just keep writing. Because I know at some point I gotta pay off. Why did I put a ladder in the middle of the forest? And at some point it'll start to pay off. Well, oh great, now I've got my setup. Did I get it right? Or do I need to tweak that setup? Well, it was only a 3-foot ladder, you know? So sometimes when you write things as you're going along and you don't know why you wrote it, just kind of highlight it, mark it, and just keep writing. Don't try to explain it right then. Keep writing and then see where it goes. It will pop up later, or you'll go back and take it out when you're doing your revisions.
Or this has now become a plot mistake that drives your editor crazy. Because they will call you and go, motorboat, where did the boat come from? You're in the desert. Where'd the boat come from?
Or why is there a motorboat in the middle of the magical forest? They don't have motors, you know?
How'd it wind up in the pool?
Yeah.
A lot of times I go, you know, I asked myself that same question a couple of conventions ago. No idea how that wound up in the pool. So these are all great ways of getting your writing out and going back and fixing it, but make sure you go back and kind of comb through it. Otherwise, we get to our favorite topic, things that make your editor's head spin. Yeah.
In addition to what there's more, you mean there's more?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that make your editor's head spin. A lot of people go, well, Alan, how do I get published? My first response is always, read the guidelines. Read the guidelines. A lot of publishers have very specific formats that they accept work in, because it cuts down the work on the publisher side by a factor of 10. So you have handwritten your beautiful novel. It is covering 25 legal pads. Don't send that to me. Don't.
Also, watch for repetitive words and phrases. They can drive your editor crazy.
Yes.
VV. That's the number one, man. VV. And did.
Or if you have, you know, if you start reading your work and you say, just this, and just this, and just this, and just this, there's too many justs. Too many now this, now that, but this, but that. I mean, when I first started writing as fast as I could go, there were a lot of buts in it, but this happened, but this happened. And when I read it, I'm like, oh, that's annoying, you know? So you have to then go back and rework sentences to take those repetitive words out because you're using them too much.
Yeah, or and then. Use the same
Meanwhile.
but.
Meanwhile, however,
Do you know what but actually means? The word but, when you have it in a book, in a sentence. Forget what I just said. That's what it actually means. Psychologically, that's what the word comma, but means. It means forget what I just said. How often should you use this word? Only if you have to.
and I will tell you, when I start writing, that word gets used a ton, and just and then I have to go back and purposely work to rework those sentences. But when I'm writing, the flow, and I'm just getting the words on paper, I don't care how many times it's in there.
Yeah, this is not draft one.
It's just getting it in there.
We're about draft 3.
Then I can go on draft 3, 4, whatever, and read it. And yes, if you just think you can get away with writing everything in 1 or 2 drafts,
Your punctuation's not gonna be right until draft 3. Your punctuation is, and one thing about punctuation, go for simple. Go for simple. Go for simple. The days of Faulkner and Hawthorne, they're over. Simple. People like simple. People like things that are easy to turn. the paragraph-long turn and twist of the pen, those days are past. There's still some psychotic out there that likes James Joyce, but really, they're not buying your book. That's somebody sucking up to a college professor.
If you're worried about punctuation and
Yes.
grammar, we suggest Eat, Shoots, and Leaves. We have a whole stack of them here that are available for the library. It's not only a great read, it's a funny read. It's written by a British author, and they do things a little differently. As in, where we use double quotations, they use single. But if you're in doubt, Google it. But I highly recommend Eat,
Yes.
Shoots, and Leaves for your punctuation. And just to give you an idea, the back reads, a panda walks into a cafe. He orders a sandwich, eats it, then draws a gun and fires 2 shots into the air. Why? Asks the confused waiter as the panda makes towards the exit. The panda produces a badly punctuated wildlife manual and tosses it over his shoulder. I'm a panda, he says at the door. Look it up. The waiter turns to the relevant entry and sure enough finds an explanation. Panda, period. Large black and white bear-like mammal native to China. Eats, comma, shoots and leaves. So you'll find it'll be funny. You'll enjoy it. I enjoyed that book greatly. So if you'd like a copy, we have some here. You can take it downstairs and check it out.
Formatting is a huge thing for publishers, magazines, contests, anything like that. If they say double space it, don't assume they meant what you think it is.
They mean
Double
what they
space it.
say.
If they say single space, Times New Roman, no additional fonts. Please do not add colors and think that they meant courier. They didn't. So these are just little tiny things. These are great ways of not getting published.
They will be very specific about where they want your name, the title of the story, page numbers, all of that.
If you can't hit that, chances are you didn't pay attention to the rest of it, they won't be read. Keep in mind, an open anthology call, when a publisher actually does like an open call for something, you have to remember they're going to get literally hundreds of submissions. Literally hundreds. You're going to get about 45 seconds. Yeah, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? It really is just depressing. It's just like, ah. But the thing is, you pick it up and right out of the bat, we said put your name on the right-hand side. Because I want to see my visual acuity. I want to see your information on the right-hand side. I need your name, your address, your email, and your word count. If those things are not in the corner, you're going right over here. Literally. Bang. I don't have to worry about the rest of your manuscript. If you couldn't get that part right, boom, you're not even going to get a form letter.
And do you know why? Because when they have to get through the editing process with you, they have to make sure you can follow direction. There's a lot of steps to go through the publishing, a lot of decisions that have to be made, from reading a contract and signing a contract to ISBN numbers, copyrights, covers, all of the different pieces, dedications, prefaces, prefaces, whatever. All of this, and you're working with somebody, and they have to know that when there's things that are critical, that you can follow directions. If they say it's due on Thursday, it's due on Thursday. But if you couldn't follow where to put your name and your title, how much confidence are they going to have in you that when they say it's due on Thursday, that you'll make your deadline?
Yeah, because time is money.
You miss your deadline, they may miss a publishing printing spot in some press. And if they lose their production spot, it costs them a ton of money.
I promise another writer will get it.
Mm-hmm.
And writers get really upset when you kind of go, well, I thought my book was going to come out in April. You didn't get your changes back to me until March. That means you're now in August. But I have book signings coming up in July. Well, your edits were due in January. You got them here in March, so you're not going to get published till August. Or you can kiss on down the road. And it's kind of, that sounds really harsh, but when a publisher is investing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in you, and it really is, and everybody's kind of like, publishing's cheap these days. Editors still cost the same amount of time, same amount of money. None of that's changed. Now, admittedly, we don't have to buy 50,000 of your book anymore. But you know, the cost of getting you to a book is still about the same. So formatting is important. Don't panic over punctuation and stuff like that until about that second or third draft. Really get kind of worried about it then. Groom it up, clean it up. As we like to say, put lipstick on the pig. Couple of rules. You are not allowed to judge the quality of your own work. Oh, the number of writers that come to me and go, oh, I'm writing nothing but garbage. And I look at them and go, type faster. Have you seen the New York Times bestsellers list lately? I need more garbage. Type faster.
And finish it. I can't tell you how many people I've run into at conventions and just out in public, and they'll say, oh, I've been writing, great, what, and you know, how much have you written? Well, I've been working on this 10-page story, and I'm like, great, for how long? 10 years. Okay,
Oh,
you're
no,
done.
no.
Stop.
You're not writing. You're
Let somebody else have it, take it to a beta reader, a writer's group, something. Get it out of your hands, because you have probably changed that into something that was 5 years ago in great shape, and you might have completely taken it apart by now. So write
Get out
it,
of your own way.
get out of your way. Let the story out and finish it, and don't say, well, I've been working on that novel. Okay, great, how long did it take you to write it? Well, I'm not finished. Okay, how far are you into it? Well, about 50,000 words, and I've been working on it for about 8 years. I'm like, dude, just write the story, quit cleaning it up. Get out of your way. Finish the story. Find out who the bad guy is, find out the happy ending, whatever it is that's supposed to happen, let it happen. And if you're worried about getting to word counts and getting a deadline, set yourself a deadline. Be your own publisher. Say, I'm gonna have a deadline. I'm gonna write 200 words a day, every day, for the next so many days. Set yourself a minimum word count and write. I don't care if you write it on paper and then you go type it up, or you go type it up first. Set a word count, do it. Do the math. Say how many words you want to have finished by what period of time. Get a calculator out, do the math. Figure out how many words you got to write a day, and then set yourself a plan. I'm going to write every day before I go to work. I'm going to write every day at lunch. I'm going to write every night before I go to bed for an hour. Whatever it is, set your time and a place and a word count. And suddenly you'll have a finished piece. But make the commitment to yourself, because that's your first commitment to making it a commitment to a publisher or anybody else.
All right, you have, before you can even worry about a publisher, you have to get to the end.
Yeah, I love the ones that go, well, I heard you can sell a book on the first 3 chapters. That was like 1955, dude.
No, you know what, in this
The only
day
words
and
you're gonna hear
time,
these days is it done yet?
is it done yet?
Is it
And,
done
and,
yet?
and to query letters of an idea for a book,
Mm-mm.
no.
Tell
It'll
them
be
I wrote
finished.
it, I'm done.
Have it finished, because that, again, nobody, unless you were Stephen King, they're not gonna buy you on spec.
Well,
You
no,
gotta
buy
be
him on
finished.
spec, you buy him on contract.
Well, contract, but yeah, true. But not for an unfinished piece.